Get cool stuff for what you were going to do anyway. Drink beer. With Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, you can just snap a photo of your receipt and upload it to the website to rack up points for exclusive merch. Get points for every purchase, whether you're grabbing a pint on draft, a case for a party, or a tall boy at the stadium. Any size, any product, anywhere you buy Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Sign up now at rewards.labattusa.com.
Is the Burdick Ford and Burdick Toyota pregame show.
And yet another snowstorm has hit upstate New York, and this time it blows in a guest from way out west as Syracuse is back in the Dome tonight to host California for a midweek matchup, and boy, do the Cuse need this win. Kyle Marchak with you on the Burdick Toyota pregame show. The Cuse haven't smelt triumph in almost 2 weeks and are losers of 6 of their last 7. So with that, we welcome you in studio from downtown Syracuse on the Burdick Toyota pregame show. I'm hanging out with you for the next hour from 6 to 7 o'clock, right up until the 7 p.m. tip-off. Syracuse hosts California inside the JMA Wireless Dome. Last time the Cuse were in the JMA Wireless Dome was the last time they won, unfortunately. They went on a little 2-game road trip, lost both at ranked North Carolina, at ranked Virginia. Neither bad losses, but I think we all know the context surrounding this program right now. They badly need to change things up, and the odds of them getting an at-large bid for the NCAA tournament it feels like it is long gone. But if there's a way for them to do it, they certainly have the quad 1 opportunities in front of them. And although it's unlikely, it could start with a very possible win against Cal tonight. So for the first time in 11 days, Syracuse is favored to win this contest. And speaking of like larger context of this basketball game tonight, I think it's important to talk about something much more important to Syracuse overall. So let's not bury the lead and talk about John Wildhack. The 10-year Syracuse athletic director, John Wildhack, has announced that he will be retiring at the end of this school year, July 1st, 2026. While we've been concerned about head coach Adrian Autry and whether or not he'll be staying in his seat for the next season, which feels like that is no longer very possible, John Wildhack has quietly been on the hot seat too, in my opinion, because of the state of this basketball program. So this could very much be a good or a very bad thing for Syracuse basketball going forward. John Wildhack, I'd say he did a so-so job as the athletic director from 2016 up until now. Men's basketball, though, has struggled. They went 89 and 93 in ACC play over the span that he has been the athletic director at Syracuse. They've gone to 3 NCAA tournaments in 10 years, just 3. I think we all know that does not meet the Syracuse basketball standard. Football, on the other hand, they had their heyday with Dino Babers. They've had their ups and downs towards the back end of Babers' tenure. And year 1, after the Fran Brown hire, the only football hire that John Wildhack was in charge of, I'd say he did well. Now, it's tough to say because we have a huge, and I mean massive, year 3 coming up for Fran Brown after a hugely disappointing year 2 that some would blame on the program itself and some would say is just bad luck because of the injury bug. I'd argue that regardless of injuries, you can't get a 3-win season in year 2 after winning as many games as Fran Brown did in year 1. But Olympic sports success certainly outweighs some of the struggles that we've seen with football and basketball. Lacrosse is back to national prominence. They've got a huge contest against Maryland coming up. Shout out to Tim Leonard, voice of lacrosse. And on top of that, soccer won a national championship. So how about we just start off this show by giving a little pat in the back to John Wildhack. I hope he has a great retirement. I would grade his decade as an athletics director at around a B-, maybe C+. And hopefully a changing of the guards between both the chancellor of Syracuse University, a new athletics director, and thus a new head basketball coach could swing things in a different direction for Syracuse basketball. With that being said, let's talk about the contest in front of us. A 7 p.m. tip inside the JMA Wireless Dome. Huge snowstorm outside, and the Cuse take on a team from the Bay Area and the Cal Golden Bears. Syracuse are minus 6.5-point favorites per DraftKings as the books are almost closed now. Setting the scene on this, Syracuse, a quad 2 opportunity for them at home. Their last quad 2 win was the 83-72 victory they got at Pittsburgh towards the beginning of ACC play. Right now, though, they haven't been in the win column in almost 2 weeks. They lost 77-87 at number 14 North Carolina, and then they lost 59-72 at number 18 Virginia. And certainly mistakes that we could pluck from both of those losses, albeit not necessarily bad losses. Ranked road losses are never going to be a bad loss. Syracuse 13-11 overall, 4-7 in the ACC. The odds of them getting back to 500 in conference play are slim to none. But this is the first game that they have been favored in a long time, and it's against a borderline tournament team. Cal right now is projected to be the third team out, according to bracketology, whereas Syracuse is nowhere near the bubble at a net of 71. Bart Torvik gives them a chance of 0.8% to make the NCAA tournament at large right now. So it would be a huge turnaround in February and probably a couple of quality wins in the ACC tournament in order for them to be even considered. So honestly, at this point, the more likely route of them making the NCAA tournament is getting the ACC championship. And yeah, so I think that kind of summarizes where Syracuse basketball is at right now. The preseason poll had them projected to finish 9th in the ACC. They're at 12th right now. So it tells you that overall Autry has not done a good job in year 3. Meanwhile, Cal is led by Mark Madsen, who has led Cal to 2 straight losing seasons in years 1 and 2. And now in year 3 for him, Cal is 17-7 overall, 5-6 in ACC play, good for 9th with a net of 60. They have a 21.5% chance of making the tournament at large. Mark Madsen has done a great job in year 3. He has hit the transfer portal, recruited well, improved the talent on his roster. And in the preseason ACC poll, Cal was projected to finish 16th out of 18 teams in the ACC. Right now they are 9th, and it's looking very likely that they will finish in the top 10 of the conference. Mark Madsen has done a great job in year 3 in juxtaposition to the other guy in the hot seat across from him tonight in Adrian Autry. Main storyline for this contest, Syracuse needs this win. I mean, I could try and state it in a bunch of different fancy ways. There's really no other way to put it. Syracuse needs this win to set up a massive tone shift in February. And obviously, all of the eyes are going to be on head coach Adrian Autry and what tactics he will employ against a team that I'd argue is very beatable. Because while Syracuse is favored at home tonight, we just don't know. Because they have lost on the road to Boston College and they have lost at home to Hofstra. They've had a lot of inexcusable losses this year and have also not had a quad 2 win in more than a month. And they've had 3 quad 2 opportunities since. So they pretty much have to go win the ACC tournament at this point. If not, they would start with a win and a very good quad 2 win against Cal. The schedule ahead certainly lends itself to a team that needs a bunch of quality wins, though. They host Cal, that's quad 2. They host SMU. They are quad 2, but are in the mid-30s on the net, so that could age into a quad 1 win. Then they're at Duke, that's quad 1. They host UNC, quad 1. They're at Wake Forest, a team that's below 500, but 73 in the net. So somehow that would be a quad 1 opportunity. Shout out to Wake Forest having one of the weirdest records in college basketball. Then they're at Louisville. That's a quad 1 opportunity. And then they finish off the season hosting Pittsburgh. That would be a quad 3 chance to finish off the regular season. Hey, it's also the Chris Bell Bowl. You guys remember Chris Bell, forward for Syracuse last year. And he is now a key offensive piece for Cal after entering the transfer portal. All of the main things we want to talk about here have been laid out, and we'll get into detail in the next segment. But before we do, let's go to Today in SU History, brought to you by Ferone & Son Funeral Home, and look back at some better times, specifically February 11th, 2012. This Day in SU Memories is brought to you by Ferone & Son Funeral Home. Celebrate your loved ones with help from Ferone & Son Funeral Home, or plan ahead for your pre-arrangement today. Visit them at 1500 Park Street in Syracuse or at FeroneSonInc.com. February 11th, 2012, number 2 Syracuse at home got a big conference win. They defeated their Big East foe, UConn, 85-67. Check out the names I'm about to list. There are literally 10 notable Syracuse players that everyone's going to remember on this roster at the time, and a lot of them weren't even starting because Syracuse was so stacked 14 years ago. First one, the one everyone remembers from 2012, Scoop Jardine led all scorers with 21 points, 6 assists. He shot 8 of 9 from the field and went 4 for 4 from downtown. Shout out Scoop Jardine. Dion Waiters, another sharpshooter from beyond the arc, didn't really shoot it from 3 that night. He was just getting buckets, 18 points, 4 assists, 7 of 10 shooting. Chris Joseph contributed 15 points, 3 of 4 from downtown. CJ Fair off the bench with 12 points. Fab Mello, may he rest in peace, was a big presence on that team. Off the bench that night with 8 points, 4 of 7 shooting. Other notable players on the roster that barely played. Shout out Bai Musakita, my old neighbor. He played 18 minutes, kind of had a Tony Snell game, did not record any stats. Rakeem Christmas was injured early in that contest, but he would have otherwise been a main contributor. MCW, future NBA Rookie of the Year at the time, just played 2 minutes. And James Sutherland, only 5 minutes of action. How about those names? So if you guys want to call in, 315-437-7644 or 315-4ESPN44, and you want to talk about Rakeem Christmas and Scoop Jardine and when Syracuse basketball was going to the tournament every year, I'm all about that. We don't have to talk too much about this game ahead, although it is a big opportunity for Syracuse to get back in the win column. What will Syracuse have to do to pull off this home win? Well, you guys will find out in the next segment when we hit our scouting report built by IKEA. You're listening to ESPN Radio.
Catch the Syracuse basketball pregame prior to every game, built by IKEA. We are the pulse of the orange. ESPN Radio 97.7 and 100.1.
Are you an experienced import car technician looking for your next opportunity? At Upstate Imports, we keep luxury imports running like new, and we need skilled techs like you. Work with state-of-the-art equipment, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a team that truly values your expertise.
What do you mean?
From BMWs to Mercedes, Audis to Mini Cooper. If it's important...
Oh. Tronic, weirdly enough, I was thinking about that the other day. I was looking back at probably a week ago, that very conference clip. It was weird because he was like, I mean, I think we all knew he was headed out, but then he basically said that it was his decision, but not his decision all at the same time. In the most Jim Boeheim of ways. He was like, well, I think I've made it quite obvious.
And 100.1.
This is the Burdick Ford and Burdick Toyota pregame show.
We turn the page to Chapter 2 of the Burdick Toyota pregame show. The Cuse men's basketball back at home, and they host a well-known Atlantic Coast Conference foe all the way from out west in Berkeley, California. The Golden Bears from Cal head into town. First matchup with the Golden Bears this season, and the Cuse on a 2-game skid are favored to win a contest for the first time in over 11 days. Kyle Marchak with you on the Burdick Toyota pregame show on QSportsDoc.com and ESPN Radio. Thank you guys for tuning in and hanging out, and hopefully we can all chat together and talk about how Syracuse can get back in the win column. Call in. Tell us what you want to see tonight, 315-437-7644. And with that, how about we head straight to the Massage Envy hotline? It's our guy, Drew, in New York. Drew, how we doing?
I'm not bad. You ask what I'm hoping to see tonight. You want the brutally honest answer, Pat, or do you want me to sugarcoat things?
Go for it.
I want them to lose. And I say that as not a dispassionate fan, not an apathetic fan, not someone that is checked out, not someone that's a closet Connecticut fan. I want to see this end. And what scares me about the announcement today, I see John Wildhack. Congratulations on all your success. You got Fran Brown to Syracuse football. Great. But he's not retiring until July 1st. You know what that tells me, Pat? That he's going to pick the next coach. And that scares me. Because I see nothing in this man's resume to suggest that he's equipped to find the next guy that's going to lead this program forward. And I don't want what I hate is the idea of we're going to saddle the next athletic director with a basketball coach that he may or may not like. And to me, that might breed dysfunction right from the very beginning. The right way to do it is to get a new AD and then have that athletic director pick the right coach. So I want that guy in place by next month, not this summer.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually about to say that earlier. The problem with John Wildhack announcing that he is going to retire right now is now we have to wait until a new AD takes over. At the same time, we're also waiting for a new chancellor of Syracuse University. This timing is pretty bad, because we would need a new head coach to at least know who their athletic director is, and they probably won't. I mean, it depends on how soon we clear house with Autry. So
what's that mean? Does that mean Autry's back? I mean,
no, Autry's not going to be back. We both know he's not going to be back, but the problem is with an AD out the door, we need an AD before we can hire a new head coach.
Right. So when does the new AD start? If the next guy's not retiring until July, that tells me that a lame duck athletic director is going to pick the next coach. And you're exactly right. If a guy has options, why would he come here and choose to work at an institution where he doesn't know who his boss is going to be in 2 or 3 months? Like, I know there's probably a lot of people in the audience who are just hoping they stay within the family and McNamara leaves Siena and becomes Syracuse's next coach. I do not want that. I want a complete clean start, and I want the best man, the most qualified guy for the job. And I think they're gonna have a shallower pool of legitimate candidates to choose from if you have an outgoing athletic director who's calling the shots on it. This is supposed to be, in my opinion, an exciting time for Syracuse fans. That, yes, this season and this last 5 years, has been unbelievably disappointing. But we can have a fresh start with somebody else. But the process here just looks unbelievably flawed.
Yeah, the timing is awful. The timing is awful. Drew, I appreciate you. Also, my name is Kyle. No problem there, though.
Sorry, Kyle. Goodbye. Have a great show.
You're all good,
Goodbye.
Drew. Have a nice one. All right, that was Drew in New York, bringing up a very good point. The timing is despicably bad for Syracuse men's basketball, the program that soon-to-be retired Syracuse athletic director John Wildhack definitely swung and missed on with Adrian Autry. And now that he's leaving, Drew brings up a very good point. How is the timing going to work? I'm not super familiar with how athletic directorship works, right? A new AD is coming in. After July 1st, a new AD will be hired. Hopefully, it's obviously on July 1st when that new AD starts. So, with that, will the new AD be the one choosing this new head coach, hypothetically? I mean, you want to replace this empty seat at the head coaching position, which in all likelihood will be empty the second the season is over. So, with that being said, it lends itself to very, very poor timing for Syracuse. Anyways, let's get to the scouting report on California. Built by IKEA. Everything you need from IKEA is now at Destiny USA. Go check it out and dream the possibilities at your new IKEA Syracuse. Cal, 17-7 overall, 5-6 in the ACC, a net of 60. Considering the talent they have, I think head coach Mark Madsen in his third year has done a great job with this team. They are coming off a loss after a little two-game winning streak, 55-77. Versus number 20, Clemson. And this was just a bad shooting night. And this is kind of the focus that we'll have talking about this Cal Golden Bears team tonight. You can take advantage of how much they rely on shooting. They are a volume three-point shooting team. They are an efficient three-point shooting team. But as you'll see, if they have a bad shooting night, it all comes crumbling down because they rely on driving downhill and kicking out and hitting threes. So against number 20 Clemson, which is a perfectly fine loss, they shot 19 of 48 from the field. So that was just shy of 40%. And they shot 4 of 13 from three. They really didn't shoot that many threes, and they still had a bad night from beyond the arc, 30.8% from three-point land. They also had 14 turnovers and delivered 7 assists to just 16 from the other side from Clemson. Key players to watch out for Cal. Their main scorer, guard Day Ames, second-year guy for the team, 17 points per game. Leading scorer for the squad, 10th in the ACC. And how about the son of NBA Hall of Famer Scottie Pippen, Justin Pippen, the 6'3 sophomore, is a pretty darn good guard. Transfer from Michigan, came from that heralded Sierra Canyon High School program, 15.2 points per game. Also an elite three-point shooter, 38% from beyond the arc. Very fun player to watch. Also the second leading scorer, good for 15th in the ACC. And, of course, another key player, the one and only Chris Bell, the 6'9 senior, transferred from Syracuse last year, and he's become a key offensive piece for Cal. 13 points per game, 2.7 rebounds, and is also a pretty decent three-point shooter this year, 36%. Another guy to look out for, and he'll be on our cross-hospital injury report. Lee Dort has been questionable. The senior forward is their main rebound guy. He's good for 8 points and pretty much 8 rebounds every night. So key player to watch out for. With that, how about we go to one of the mainstays of the Massage Envy Hotline, Nick from Vegas. How we doing, brother?
Hey, Kyle. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good.
I just wanted to piggyback off that last caller's phone call. And I by no means am saying that Red deserves another year, so please don't think that's my point of this call. But you have to wonder, the domino effect is in full, is definitely going to be in play, because I doubt they're going to hire a new AD before they hire a new chancellor.
Yeah. Yeah, they need a chancellor first, yeah.
And so you need to fill that role, then you need to fill the AD role, and then you need to fill the head basketball coach's role. However, you're at the mercy of time in the portal. With no recruits coming in 26th class, you need to fill your roster in the portal. Does that mean by default Red gets one more year? I mean, Wildhack did not pull any punches. He came out and said he has not discussed it and has not made a decision on next year yet.
No, I mean, there's no way, even as ugly as it'll look, having to get a chancellor and then an athletic director, and then that athletic director likely will have to be the one that hires the new head coach, or he doesn't. Maybe John Wildhack is a part of that hiring process, and then they just hand this new coach off to the new AD and the new chancellor of Syracuse University. But in a perfect world, somehow they get someone ready to sit into this new AD seat. I'd say the assistant athletic director we have at Syracuse University, Heather Like, came over from Pittsburgh as the head athletic director there. We already have someone here that can be an athletic director at a Power 4 level.
And look what she did. She hired the assistant from Duke and gave him an 8-year contract, and now they're stuck with him. They can't even buy him out.
Yeah, no, that was that was a bad hire. I'm just saying, if they wanted to, I guess dismiss this whole issue of not having an AD preeminently so that they can go ahead and hire this next coach who will have a relationship with the AD, the best route would be to just go ahead and say that she'll be, I don't know, the interim AD.
Interim acting as, but eventually that's not going to stick full-time, I doubt, you know what I mean?
No, again,
let me preference. I'm not saying that deserves another year. I'm saying by default, does that happen? I can see a world where that does happen, and people better be prepared for that.
Yeah, I mean, that would not be fun, but I see your line of logic there. Appreciate you for calling in, Nick.
Yeah, take care, Kyle.
All right, take care. Well, that's an interesting line of logic. It's certainly possible. I hope it isn't, though. I hope it's not going to happen. I still, even though I see where he's coming from, just with the way the dominoes fall, that it may make sense to have to, I guess, like preeminently say that he's coming back next year, even though he won't. I just don't see a world where he possibly is even said to stick around next year with how much disdain there is for how he's handled men's basketball this season in particular. I mean, year 3 is the hot seat year. We all know that. Unless you don't have a good roster. He's brought in a great roster. Jeff Van Gundy has a great quote. Throughout the course of an NBA season, he says, teams will win 5 games that they shouldn't have won, and they will lose 5 games that they shouldn't have lost. Now, if you shrink that down to the scale of a 30-game college basketball season, that means, 2.5 to 3 games every year that a college basketball team should win that they shouldn't have and lost that they shouldn't have lost? I don't know. I think there are already 4 games this year for Syracuse that they inexcusably shouldn't have lost, especially in the fashion that they were losing them. Hofstra, Boston College, and especially in the fashion that they lost at home versus Virginia Tech. That just should never happen. So we've already hit that quota, and he's certainly on track to well exceed that. So to me, there's just no way that head coach Adrian Autry sticks around next season, no matter how ugly hiring a new chancellor, hiring a new athletic director, and then getting to the new head coaching position will be. There's just no way that you can possibly find any scenario where the fan base wouldn't go up in flames and grab their pitchforks if someone said, tentatively, Adrian Autry's coming back next year. I just don't see that happening. Back to Cal, though, the opponent that Syracuse takes on tonight at 7 p.m., they're a pretty good team. They're very well coached, and they have a style that Syracuse wishes they would have. They're very guard-driven, ball screen heavy, lots of paint touches from Day-Day Ames and Justin Pippen. They rely on the kick out a lot. They will drive down to the rack, and if they have a high percentage shot, they'll take it. But otherwise, they're kicking out, and they'll try again for that 3. They shoot an average amount of 3s per game, but they are one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the conference and in the country, just a tick above 36% as a squad. Certainly efficient shooting. Their defense, pretty basic. Man-to-man, physical rebounding, rim protection, focused on forcing contested shots, never giving up second chance points. But there are definitely holes in their game since one of their key players is hurt in Lee Dort. We'll talk more about him later. So in terms of the strengths for Cal, they create 3-point opportunities, and they shoot the 3 ball well. They're also elite at the free throw line because their game is kind of driving downhill and then kicking out. They draw a lot of fouls. So they actually create a decent amount of points at the free throw line every game. Very good at drawing fouls, and they shoot at a 78.5% clip. Very, very impressive stuff from Mark Madsen and the Cal Golden Bears. Their weaknesses, though, are certainly stuff that Syracuse can exploit if they play to the line that they've been given tonight as 6.5-point favorites at home at 7 p.m. against Cal. They live and die by the 3. So not the night where Syracuse pulls out the 2-3 zone, in my humble opinion. I think you stick to an aggressive man-to-man and keep your best defenders out there. And that'll open up the conversation about whether or not Kyan Anthony will be on the floor. My guess is he'll probably be back on the floor tonight. I don't know if he's going to get a ton of minutes. And there's also been rebounding struggles without Lee Dort for Cal. They're 16th in the ACC in rebounds per game, 15th in rebounding margin. They average losing the rebounding battle by about 2 boards every game. So with that up next, we'll talk about how Cuse can exploit these weaknesses in our keys to the game. Stick around. Segment 3 of the Burdick Toyota pregame show. The Cuse, the Golden Bears inside the dome, coming up on ESPN Syracuse.
This is...
Oh, Chris, stop it. Am I regretting taking a job at a Syracuse sports talk station? Absolutely not. I'm born and raised in Syracuse, my guy. Why would I regret that? It's not like I'm talking about a horrible basketball team or anything. It's tough. It's tough talking about this team day in, day out, but you find ways to make it interesting. And I'm on air. This is what I want to do for a living, and this is a great step toward it. So have some fun. Who's this Kyle everyone's referring to? Yeah, my name's Pat, guys. Come on. We'll always have lacrosse the way Humphrey Bogart and the lady always had Paris in that movie. What are you talking about? Gio got out just in the... He really did. He did get out. No, Jim's my dad. I actually have 3 Jims in my family. My older brother is James John Marchak III. My dad's junior, and my grandpa, who's still around, is senior. So I have some inside info from Chris Bell tonight. Watch out. All right, Q Sports Knower. Philly's most wanted, dude. With Kalshi, you can bet on anything. Yeah, this Cal team's got some hoopers. They got hoopers with hooping blood in them. Stanford had I'm totally blanking on the kid's name. Stanford had a kid last year that was the son of an NBA player too. Those California teams. He's going to sit in the corner and shoot threes and play horrible defense. True. I don't know. I don't know what she's up to tonight. Thomas Hughes, what's going on, brother? Yeah, she always checks in.
ESPN Radio 97.7, 100.1, 1200 AM and 1440 AM. This is the Burdick Ford and Burdick Toyota pregame show.
Segment 3 of the Burdick Toyota pregame show. The Cuse host California for some men's basketball action tonight. Kyle Marchak hanging out with you as we break down all the action. Syracuse favored to win a basketball game for the first time in 11 days, and this would be a great way to snap a little 2-game skid after hitting the road and losing at ranked North Carolina and at ranked Virginia. Great chance for Syracuse to hopefully set up a massive tone shift here in late February and into early March. Give themselves an outside chance of an at-large bid. If not, they'll have to build some momentum and slingshot their way to an ACC championship. I'm just throwing all the storylines at the wall and seeing if they'll stick. Kyle Marchak with you on QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio. Call in. Give me your thoughts. What do you want to see out of Adrian Autry's squad tonight as they look to get back in the win column? 315-437-7644 or 315-ESPN44. So how about we get to our Crouse Hospital injury report? Syracuse, a clean bill of health. Cal, on the other hand, one key contributor is questionable and has been questionable since January 24th against Stanford. It is their star forward and senior, Lee Dort. He tweaked his left hammy versus Stanford on January 24th, has seen limited action since. Significant piece that Syracuse can take advantage of down low. Without their main rebounder, averages 8.3 points per game, 7.7 rebounds, and about an assist a game, too. He's also an efficient shooter down low and basically the heartbeat of their offense in the paint because they rely on their guard play to contribute a lot. And if they're scoring in the paint, they go to their big man, which is usually Lee Dort. So that is your injury report brought to you by Crouse Hospital. Take me to Crouse. All right, main storyline I want to talk about in this penultimate segment of the pregame show. Will Kyan Anthony play tonight? Obviously, you guys know in the last contest versus Virginia for the first time this year, Kyan Anthony did not get any minutes throughout the entire contest. Head coach Adrian Autry said it was simply a matter of stylistic matchup and that he just didn't see Kyan Anthony bringing what they were looking for. And now that we have kind of opened up this conversation, looked at the advanced metrics and also just the tape on Kyan Anthony, I honestly don't see Kyan Anthony providing that much value in most matchups going forward. You know, I never thought Kyan Anthony was as impressive as a number 36 recruit in the country. You know, some freshmen play really well straight away. He is not one of those freshmen. He is certainly behind the 8 ball in a lot of senses. His numbers just haven't been super impressive this year. And then you kind of look at some of the advanced metrics and you see where his defensive liability and being turnover prone definitely get in the way. So this is a number that I want to talk about here. And I know it's been talked about a little bit. Evan Maya is a PhD data scientist in college basketball analytics field. And there's an interesting takeaway. Now, I am not going to say that numbers are biblically accurate, but when you look at the tape and you see how defensively liable he is, and then you look at Evan Maya's advanced metrics, it certainly tells the full story on how effective Kyan Anthony is so far. So he has these stats called OBPR and DBPR, basically the number of offensive or defensive points made or allowed per 100 possessions when said player is on the floor, compared so that it is above the calculated average of a D1 player, the average D1 player. So the higher the rating and better in both instances. For example, Cameron Boozer leads the country. That's a good freshman at plus 8.95 OBPR, offensive rating. And a good NBA caliber player will hover around plus 3 for defense. Patrick Gamba leads the ACC at 5.14 for defensive points not allowed per 100 possessions above the calculated average D1 player. I know that's kind of complicated, but I think this is a metric that at least ballparks the efficiency that these players bring to the table. Of all Syracuse players with at least 10 possessions per game this year, so 240 possessions, so you really don't even have to play a lot. That's like at least 5 minutes. all of them have better metrics in both OBPR and DBPR, so offensive and defensive rating, than Kyan Anthony. Kyan Anthony comes in dead last in the team in both offensive and defensive rating. I think this reveals the concern that we have seen through the tape and just through Adrian Autry's decision to not play Kyan Anthony. And then you look at it and you see that he is not even at the skill level of an average Division I player right now. He averages scoring 0.69 less points per 100 possessions compared to an average D1 player, and is pretty much the average defensive player, minus 0.03. So like pretty much incalculable at this point. So in summation, he is a below average player when you look at these advanced metrics. Now, do I think Kyan Anthony is actually a below average player overall? No, like he's talented. He has the size, the speed, and at times elite playmaking abilities. But this tells a lot of the story. I think we all know that he obviously is not good defensively. There's no shock there considering he's a freshman. But it tells a lot of the story of the woes that we've seen with him from the turnover issues and the scoring abilities on offense. So that's my take on the whole Kyan Anthony situation. With that slingshots us right into our keys to the game. For me, the number one key to the game for Syracuse, if they want to win tonight, they've got to prevent the three ball. Cal's the third most efficient three-point shooting team in the ACC at 36.3%. This is definitely not a game where the 2-3 zone will help them too much. Let's not flash the 2-3 zone too often, and let's not force them into three-point shooting opportunities or allow them to get as many kickouts, because they will drill the three ball. With that being said, how about we prevent Cal's initial drives early and win the paint first, take ownership of the paint first. And finally, the third key to the game, don't play slow half-court offense. I know we've talked all season about Adrian Autry. How many sets offensively do they really play? I don't know. I didn't grow up playing college basketball, but I can tell you from a viewership perspective, there's only a handful of sets, and a lot of them can become stagnant. And a lot of the time, it's because a player wants to play iso ball, and it kind of ends the whole set. Donnie Freeman wants to take the ball up the floor. Sometimes he goes straight to the rack and finishes, but for every time he does that, he also dribbles to the free throw line and then plants his feet because he has nowhere to go, and he's kicking out to someone else who isn't ready. And we know that J.J. Starling isn't the best playmaker this year. He's actually gotten worse over his 3 years at Syracuse. Just some food for thought. If you guys disagree with me, call in. Give me your thoughts. 315-437-7644. All right, up next, we'll get to our Upstate Import starting lineups, and there's one player I believe needs to have a paramount performance tonight. You'll find out who when we return on the Burdick Toyota pregame show on CuseSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio. You're listening to ESPN Syracuse. I don't think I'm bashing JJ too much. I'm just being honest. Like, he's gotten worse over the past 3 years. There's no denying that. He used to be a guy that we could rely on ball, and now he's just not like that. We don't really have a dude that I'm comfortable on ball without turning over the ball too much. Thanks, Lou. Philly's Most Wanted never agrees with me. I don't know if he's ever agreed with me. It's an opinion. I know it's an opinion. But and when you look at the numbers, like, he's gotten less and less efficient every year. So last year he shot 46% from the field. This year he's shooting 42%. Last year he had his best three-point shooting year in his entire career, 32.4%. This year he is shooting 29.9% from three. He also is averaging, let's see, the least amount of assists he's ever had, 1.1 assists, while averaging 1.5 turnovers. So that's a negative assist to turnover ratio. He's always been around, but the top seniors he went to. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's tough to say whether or not a player is good because of who he plays with. All I know is, like, when you look at his stats, when you look at the metrics, it tells us that there's some clear inefficiencies, and I think it would be very clear whether or not he was on the right track right now. To me, it's kind of a question. I don't know if he's on the right track, but he's also at a bad program. What about feelings? So, Spatching, I appreciate that question because, like, my job as a journalist, yes, like, I bring my own feelings to the situation. I was born and raised in Syracuse, but at the same time, you got to bring numbers to back up your conversation. Otherwise, I'm just rambling. You know what I mean? Does that make sense, Spatch? Super Cat. You're a funny dude. Final segment of the Burdick Toyota pregame show. Kyle Marchak hanging out with you all hour, coming up to the 7 p.m. tip-off. Syracuse hosting Cal, and their best opportunity to get back in the win column here at home against a team that is on the bubble, but looking from the outside in the Cal Golden Bears. Kyle Marchak hanging out with you on QSportsTalk.com, ESPN Radio. Call in over the next 5 minutes and give me your thoughts. 315-437-7644. We are waiting for Cal's lineup to come in, but right now we do have the Upstate Imports starting lineup for Syracuse, and it's kind of the usual look tonight. Nate George at the 1, J.J. Starling at the 2, Nate Kings at the 3, Donnie Freeman at the 4, and William Kyle the 3rd coming at you in the 5 spot. Again, still waiting to see Cal's lineup. I'm looking right now on Twitter, and I don't see anything yet. Let's see. UC Berkeley. Yeah, I've got nothing from them yet. So we'll see when they input their starting lineup. I can tell you their projected lineup, which isn't anything crazy. It's pretty much their usual starting lineup minus Lee Dort, kind of their main piece. So you can expect to see DaDae Ames, Justin Pippen, John Camden, Chris Bell, who is their usual 4 spot. And then Milos Ilic, the 6'10 grad transfer from Loyola, Maryland, out of Serbia, has been the replacement for their star center, Lee Dort. Now I am looking on the computer. It looks like they're going to have Justin Pippen at the 1, DaDae Ames, Chris Bell at the 3, John Camden, the Virginia Tech transfer, at the 4, and Milos Ilic. So just kind of switch up the order there, but usual Upstate Import starting lineups look for both squads. How about we get to our player that we need to perform tonight, a.k.a. Who's Going to Bring the Meat? Brought to you by Hoffman Sausage Company, one of my favorite advertisements to hit in the Burdick Toyota pregame show. Hoffman Sausage Company has called Syracuse home since 1879. They have more than just hot dogs like German Franks and Snappies. They have amazing sausages to take us through the cold months. Jalapeno cheddar, Italian, beer bratwurst, and more. And Lord knows it is freezing outside again. My player that we need to perform tonight, who's going to bring the meat, I got to see J.J. Starling. He needs to set the tone offensively, prove a willingness to drive downhill, and kind of slingshot himself after a decent game last time around. 13 points, 6 of 14 shooting, but only 1 assist versus Virginia. Can we see him distribute the ball better tonight? He will be key for distributing those high percentage shots against Cal tonight. Again, a big contest, 7 p.m. inside the JMA Wireless Dome against Cal. Syracuse, 6.5-point favorites according to DraftKings as the books close. And right now, my final prediction for the score, I think it'll be a little bit closer than 6.5 points. I think Syracuse will walk away with their first win in almost 2 weeks, get back in the win column in a big way by a score of 78-76. The postgame show will come up 5 minutes after the final buzzer for this contest. Syracuse, Cal, coming up on TK99. Stick around, and you guys can listen to the voice of the Orange, Matt Park. If not, thank you guys for hanging out with me. And on ESPNU tonight, big contest as Syracuse looks to get back in the win column. I'm Kyle Marchak saying so long from ESPN Syracuse, and I'll see you guys for the postgame show.